Tell me about your first knitting project.
You know, I don't remember my first knitting project.
Maybe the earliest one you remember. How far back can you go?
I have this vague memory of some really awful, like, Orlan acrylic red yarn that they gave me to keep me quiet, and knitting like a garter stitch scarf.
Do you remember how old you were?
7.
Ah.
It was awful. I think I hated it. That's my earliest memory of knitting, and I don't remember when I became really interested in knitting. We had a cottage up in Canada, and sitting with my aunt and needle pointing and embroidering and knitting. There was no TV. You could get radio at night if in the car. And because it was such a remote place, and it was just what everyone did. I think really what was happening is the adults were sitting around drinking and playing cards, and they would get us going on a creative project. And she was a mentor for me in a lot of ways, and it was back in the days when women didn't work, and she was a stay-at-home mom, and she taught me to cook and she taught me to knit. So she was a mentor. And I had a friend who, when I was in my 20s, I decided I wanted to start knitting again. And she was the manager at the weaving workshop in Chicago. And we're still very good friends. And she taught me a lot about knitting and how to design a pattern and how to make things fit. So I think, and the other person who's really been a mentor for me is Darlene Joyce at Mosaic.
Oh yeah.
She's an amazing knitter.
Did you grow up in Chicago?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay. Where at?
Southside, Hyde Park.
Nice. Okay.
My degree is in painting, so I have a fine arts degree. I did a variety of jobs, sort of design jobs and corporate design jobs, and then I left the corporate world and became a ski instructor. And I did that for 17 years.
That's awesome.
And then I was also, I certified Pilates instructor. And then I had an accident. I've always loved to knit. So it was always my fallback. And knitting kind of goes well with skiing, actually, because there's really nothing to do at night when you're too tired. So after a full day of skiing, coming home and sitting down and picking up a good knitting project.
Right.
My friend Karen started Knit One, and the day she opened, I happened to be driving down Lincoln Avenue, and I saw the sign, and I stopped my car and I went in, and we got to be friends, and we've been friends ever since. And so she had the store for 4 years and then decided to move to California. And I debated and decided to buy it.
What was the tipping point? What made you decide?
There was such a community of knitters and people that gravitated to Knit One. And I had always wanted to own a knitting store, and I decided it was sort of, I was at a crossroads in my life. I wasn't working. I left my previous job, and I thought this was as good as anything. Every day challenges me. It's like always a balance between, I mean, honestly, like today, all I wanted to do was sit and knit, and I had a lot of other things to do, and
that's always the struggle.
It's a struggle, but and then I have to say to myself, well, this is my job too.
Right.
So I gave myself permission to sit and knit, and I got a lot done. And it's also, sitting and knitting is good thinking time for me. So I guess in a weird way, the challenge for me is to let myself knit and be quiet.
And to do that unapologetically.
Yeah. Like, I don't every minute have to be crunching numbers and doing book work and paperwork.
It's still a real business.
It's still a real business.
And I feel like if it wasn't a creative business, no one would question that.
Right? It's so true. I think Chicago has an amazing knitting community. I really do. I'm shocked by how much talent there is here. Shocked isn't the right word. I guess pleased that we've so many designers and we have so many good knitting stores and we're all different. The people that come to Knit One, I feel like the Dalai Lama's mother, because it's like, I just open the door and people just come in and like you. I just try and encourage people to do what they want. There's a tendency for people to say, well, my skill's not there and I can't do this. And anything that you're knitting is really just following directions. It's just doing something in sequence. And in our beginner classes, we give people just plain undyed wool and tell them, you're going to rip this out 6 times. This yarn isn't precious. Don't worry about it.
In terms of like a unique Chicago knitting experience, can you tell us a little bit about One Knit, One Chicago?
Yeah, that I can't take any credit for it. It's Alison Dijkhuizen's brainchild, but her idea was to highlight Chicago designers and give them free rein to design a project and let them just be creative with it. It's a kit project that helps you to expand your skills, and each project has a particular skill. So the first one, the Dillinger hat, is stranded color work. And you get a project bag, all of your yarn, needles are an add-on, you get the pattern and a little gift inside. Each project also has a class attached to it. So with Allison's hat, we had a class on stranded color work for people who didn't know how to do it.
Was that a play on One Book, One Chicago?
Yes.
Nice.
Totally.
I thought it might be. That's
was.
cool. It seems like you've really prioritized having local designers, local.
Absolutely.
How else do you curate the store? Like, what are the influences behind what comes in?
I buy, honestly, what I like. And so I would say my number one priority is natural fibers. But I also look for things that are made in first world countries, that are companies that I can be assured have good practices. And I love color. So I look for good quality and color and things that I want to knit with. And I also listen to what people tell me.
Yeah, you're like on trend watch on Instagram for sure.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on Instagram and looking at other trends and figuring out what people are doing and reading Ravelry. And I'll play with hashtags. I'll just hashtag something like crazy and see what comes up. And people have found me, and then if I find somebody that I like, I follow them and I get to see what they're doing. And it's also, I can kind of watch the trends in other parts of the world, like what's going on in the UK or in Australia, France.
Tell me what's on your needles.
So this is a new yarn that I ordered for myself from Instagram. Her stuff kept popping up in my feed and I fell in love with it. And it's called Oat Knit, Haute Knit, and she's on the East Coast. And this is, she calls it Pampered Sock. It's an MCN, fingering weight. And the pattern is Canary Knits, Teresa Gregorio, and it's the perfect crop top on Ravelry.
I almost made that. I might have to make it now.
It is, I love this. And so I'm going to make mine longer. I don't want a crop top, but I'm going to make mine longer with a 3/4 length sleeve. Each stitch is like a little painting.
Right. Yeah, and it looks like it changes every 3 or 4, which
it does.
For stockinette and your like attention span is great.
And it's not doing any weird pooling things.
No, nowhere, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, so that should be, it's on its way. We should have it by Yarn Crawl.
So what are you most excited by?
I'm really excited for Yarn Crawl.
Oh yeah.
Because I think it's going to be amazing this year. I love that we have the tote bags and the mystery knit along. I'm just excited for people to come and see our new space and see what we have. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it all evolves. I've always loved collaborating, but everything that I do is kind of solitary. Creating is solitary, and there's such wonderful collaboration between me and the staff, and between me and customers, and I've watched friendships.
Even like people who, like, I've seen this, people who meet online. Like, I have
Right.
internet friends that are real friends now.
Yes, they're real friends. I think I'm really proud of what we built.